You alright, lads? It's Daviz02 here, and today I'm doing a commentary video on the Adventure Begins rewrite that I did about a year ago. So you know, bit nutty, innit? Alright, so let's start this bitch, innit? So basically, yeah, I began working on this in April 2021. My whole idea was like, oh yeah, what if I rewrite The Adventure Begins and make it more fucking Railway Series accurate, like, and that. And I wanted to get it done for the 76th anniversary. I know I probably wouldn't like get it out on the actual day because, you know, like a month from that. But you know, like, I started it, you know, just like haha. But yeah, I didn't think it would take so long to actually make, but you know. So yeah, it was quite an ambitious project. I had to get a lot of other people involved. First time using voice actors as well, so you know. As you can see, all the voice actors, and there's myself. Look, haha. But yeah. And then my mate, the Midland engine, obviously voices Thomas. He really wanted to voice Thomas. He was like, "Oh yes, can I voice Thomas?" And I was like, "Okay." Here we are. The Adventure Begins rewrite. Let's go.
A long time ago.
Oh, here's my gorgeous narration.
There was a little railway known as the Northwestern.
I was really worried about my narration in this. I was worried it was a bit boring. But, you know,
was named Thomas.
We try.
Was a tank engine who lived at the big station.
So yeah. What I wanted it to do for this was that I wanted it to, like, obviously,
a short stumpy boiler and a short stumpy dome.
be, as I said before, like, it'd be more Railway Series accurate. So obviously Thomas isn't the new engine on this. It starts off pretty much the exact same as Thomas and Gordon. So there wasn't really a whole lot to say about this, to be honest. This part really. One thing I can say about the scene that's on screen, like right, the last two that are just on screen, those were done by Harris Boy UK, who did a majority of the sprite scenes. He was literally just like, yeah, he wanted to do a load of sprite scenes for some reason. He wanted to do basically half of them, and I let him do it. And this man managed to finish them all in like the span of like 2 days, and I was just like, what? So you know, thank you, Harris. Oh god, I can't remember who did this scene, but this is a really good one.
Wake up, lazy bones. Do some hard work for a change. You can't catch me.
And off Thomas ran.
Also, I forgot to add, Gordon is voiced by Dysphoria Denier, who I haven't heard from in ages, so you know, I hope she's doing alright. Yeah.
He didn't let that bother him.
Hurry up, Henry.
Okay, and this, alright, let's talk about the whole Henry in the Rain thing.
Another big blue groaned.
So, I really like the subplot of Thomas helping Henry getting over his fear of the rain. Because I feel that, like, I feel like it was just a really nice thing in the original film. And a lot of people don't like it because they, you know, Henry's actually scared of the rain or whatever. But, like, I like it, so I kept it in. I did try to rework it so that Henry's a bit more defensive about his fear of the rain, rather than just, you know, being like, oh, boo-hoo. I'm afraid of the rain. Like, he's a bit more like, shut up. This commentary is amazing so far, so, you know. Me voicing Henry. Amazing job.
Go on then.
The next morning, Thomas would not wake up. His driver and
again done by Harris.
Start. His fire went out, and there was not enough steam.
Wake up, Thomas. Gordon will be waiting.
And then there's Henry's voice quality being a little bit different because I fucked up and had to re-record that scene separately. So you know. Good job, mate.
The coaches were very impatient as Thomas pulled them out of the yards.
Hurry up!
Oh, and Harris voices the coaches.
Thomas gave them a rude
yeah.
Stop dawdling, stop dawdling.
So you know. No, not only Harris like fucking illustrates half of this, he voices the coaches as well. So you know. And this scene on screen right now was actually drawn by a real life friend of mine.
Before the coaches had stopped moving,
my mate who also voices Thomas's driver in this as well. He was like, "Oh yeah," like I was talking about the project. He was like, "Oh yeah, can I help out?" So I was like, "Yeah, sure, man."
This time, Gordon started so quickly they hadn't time to.
And again, that bit by MIDI was completely improvised. I did not ask him to do that.
The train grew faster and faster.
This bit I really like, you know. I really like how Harris like put like little blurs in it. That was pretty cool, Harris. Makes them look they're actually moving.
Poor Thomas was going faster than he'd ever gone before. He was out of breath and his wheels hurt him. I'm
sorry, I don't have a lot to say about the Thomas and the Gordon bit because it's like the first 10 minutes is more or less just a retelling of Thomas and Gordon. And they're like, you know, we get into the really interesting stuff when like James shows up.
The train approaching platform 1 is the 817 Express.
This bit I liked. This scene. I chose to put obviously that this bit was at Crovan's Gate in the original book, so I was like, stick Renes down there. There's Renes's whistle. So yeah, I was like, oh, Renes. Also, I did this bit. You can tell because it's not as good as everyone else's, but you know.
Poor Thomas couldn't answer. He had no breath. He just puffed slowly away to rest and had a long drink. He went home
this bit I
slowly that evening.
So I put in the voice line from the US dub.
I shouldn't be teasing. Your engine's so much.
My whole idea was that Thomas makes a fucking ass of himself in the first like a few minutes of the film. That was Thomas and Gordon bit. He makes an ass of himself, and he begins to think like, "Hey, maybe I'm being a bit of a twat. Maybe I need to fix myself a bit." And then obviously when James shows up, he's like, I'm gonna see the world now. But here's the bit about the LMS agreement. I feel like this bit's a bit boring, you know, like, LMS agreement, timelines, a bit like, honestly, I just thought it'd be fun to, like, throw in the LMS agreement thing, considering that that's kind of how James arrived. Also, I should probably add that, Edward's voiced by my friend, Amethyst Lazura, aka, Juliet, who voices Edward, and I like the voice for Edward. Surprisingly, I got a few people being like, "Oh, her voice is not suitable for Edward. They should voice like Percy or something." And I'm like, "Shut up! I like it. It's my movie. Like, shut up."
This garden, just like those things people make coffee in.
Thomas didn't say anything. He thought it best to keep as much attention away from him as possible. He couldn't help but wonder about that new engine.
Also, yeah, 87546 and 9462 are like in the background, lol. You know, just, you know.
The next day,
alright, now this is the best bit. This is the best bit because this is the bit where James shows up. I really like how I wrote James in this. I'm not trying to strap my own dick there, but I really like how I wrote James in this. And also, James is voiced by Battlefist 10, who absolutely fucking kills it. Like, genuinely. Like he just did an amazing job and put so much energy into it, and it's perfect. Like, and he makes me like, it makes me like the character even more. But yeah, so my idea for James is that I wanted him to be the main sort of antagonist, I guess, of this. The idea is that James obviously shows up, he's bragging, he's rude to Thomas, And
That engine smelled funny.
with how he is like, oh Thomas, you suck because you just stay in the yards all day.
Tell me about it.
It sort of makes Thomas think,
That's my bet.
maybe I should like,
Typical
you
for
know,
the LMS to give us a dodgy engine.
I don't know. I spent that really badly, but like the idea is that James is the one who planted the idea of seeing the world into Thomas's head. I think it's something he really wanted to do, but then James comes along and really plants it into his head and makes him like actually try to achieve it. So yeah, that's kind of why I wrote it. Like, I was quite proud of the idea of making James sort of like the antagonist, and then obviously Barthel's 10 comes in and just does a stellar impression, a stellar voice. So yeah, it was good. Here is Casey, aka the Chatty Engine, voicing Annie and Clarabelle. Something I want to say actually is that I really wish that I used Annie and Clarabelle more in this, because they only appear here, then they appear right at the end. I really wish that I tried to feature them more in the film, like have them in like be part of the consist or Thomas's train or something, just to keep them active in the plot, because they kind of appear here, then they just disappear again. And they don't appear to like like half an hour later. Like basically, yeah, like. Bye, Annie and Clarabelle. We'll see you later. Oh, who did this?
James, you need to be more careful with pulling coaches. The ones you pulled today.
I think Gordon's voice actor just for tonight also did these train screenshots. It's hard to remember because this was a year ago. These train screenshots are really interesting because I just told them to do screenshots and then they just proceeded to like make actual footage, which is nice of them. But because of this, like this particular scene, Thomas's eyes just rapidly going back and forth.
Wow.
But yeah,
overheard the
Gordon.
and decided to
but yeah, this is really the part where Thomas is like, I'm going to try and see the world now. You know, this is the bit where like they really plant the idea into Thomas's head.
James smiled smugly, proud that Gordon had stuck up for him.
I do kind of wish I used Gordon more as well in this, because Gordon's a bit of a nothing character in this. Like, you'd think he'd be important because of his role at the beginning, but then he just fucks off after this bit. Like, after this bit, he more or less just goes away, so.
I want to pull trains everywhere. I want to go and see the world.
Gordon and James stared, then burst out laughing.
Ho ho ho! Look around you, Thomas.
Yeah, but yeah, you know.
And besides, you're far too impatient. You'd leave something behind.
Sorry about that flash of white there. I don't know what that was all about. My my video editing software sort of glitched out a bit there.
Of course I can handle pulling the
And then his eyes just fly about.
You wondered if Gordon and James were right. The next day,
hey, I did this bit with my wooden trains. I don't have a lot of bits where I use my wooden trains, and I think it's because I wanted to stick with my art. The reason why this is done with wooden trains, and also that bit with Gordon earlier, is because those bits were done very last minute. Someone else was meant to do them, and then he couldn't do them last minute. So I was like, I'll just like cobble some like very small sets up and just take a photos on my phone. So yeah.
Strange burning smell with him wherever he goes.
Ooh, foreshadowing lol.
He does have a point.
I like this part with Edward though. Like,
go out and pull trains every day.
I really do like Thomas and Edward's relationship in this. You know, and how Edward just tries to support Thomas. You know, I mean, to be fair, it's the same as the original film. But I liked it in the original film, so I want to split it in this.
Gordon first arrived, I ended up being sidelined. I stayed in the sheds for months. The Avengers would always tease me about it.
The music just abruptly stops there.
But when the driver and fireman did arrive, they felt sorry for me, so they took me out for a run in the countryside. Oh, I did have a splendid day.
Yeah, and for flashback bits, I was just like, I just used Dolby's illustrations. I wasn't too like worried. I was like, I'm not gonna like recreate them. I'll just use Dolby's illustrations. for flashbacks, because you know.
Everyone should get their chance to prove
In
themselves.
fact, I'm gonna be honest. Actually, before I wanted to
Sure about one
collaborate and have people help me out with the scenes and that, I actually thought about one point just using scenes from like the book, the original film, and then just screenshots of the model series. But I was like, nah. So I didn't do that. Here's a perfect example because I want Henry to be blue in this. So
Now, are you right?
Oh, I'm fine.
I love Alex's delivery of that line. Like Thomas is just forcing it on, just like, oh, I want to be a better person now. So
Probably.
I will try to.
Over me tonight.
Well, that's good. Anyways, I've been meaning to ask you something. How come you're afraid of the rain?
So this is obviously a scene that I rewrote from the original.
What?
Oh, come on. Even after you
And again, as I said before, like Henry's a bit more grumpy about his fear. He's much more defensive here compared to like,
How can you be afraid of it?
yeah, like he's much more defensive about it rather than just being like, oh hoo hoo, the rain. So yeah.
I mean, you can't stop the rain, and well, you can't go about.
And obviously the reason why Thomas is trying to talk to Henry about the rain now is oh, there's my mic quality completely changing there.
Well, Henry, I've just been doing some thinking recently.
But yeah,
For your information,
obviously Thomas just said he was doing some thinking. Basically the idea is that after the events of sort of Thomas and Gordon, and also the whole James thing, like Thomas is trying to sort of improve himself and trying to fix his sort of actions because he's been a bit of a shitty dude. You know, he's trying, I guess, but he's still kind of a selfish prick at heart. Guys, the point when Henry is ill, his first thought is just, lol, gonna pull this train now.
Maybe I could pull this train.
And Thomas ran off.
I said this earlier, but I do kind of wish I put Annie and Clarabelle in Thomas's train here. Because it would have given them more to do in the film, rather than just them disappearing.
Don't be impatient. Wait until everything is.
Thomas's driver looks mad serious. Watch out, lads.
The people got in.
I didn't say the guy's name. So Tom, as I said before,
and still Henry didn't.
Thomas's driver is voiced by a real life friend, who I don't know what to call him right now because he changes his name like every other month. Like I credit him as Hootie's Universe here, or Hootie Universe here. He doesn't go by that anymore.
Used to call him.
He goes by like something Bowser now. He just changes his name all the time. So, but yeah, he's an IRL friend. He was like, oh yeah, so you know, he voices Thomas's driver on that. And speaking of IRL friends, the Fat Controller is also voiced by an IRL friend. He's voiced by
Oh yes, sir.
obviously a guy called Green Well guy, who I actually know in real life, who I've been friends with for like
Don't be impatient.
50 years. So I was just like, oh yeah. You could voice the Fat Controller because your Fat Controller voice is pretty funky.
Perhaps they forgot to couple Thomas to the
so yeah.
Perhaps the driver pulled.
And again, he also does a really good performance of the Fat Controller. It's a lot better. It was better than I thought it was going to be actually, because you know, from what he told me, he was trying to base it on Johnny Morrison's voice, which really works.
Signal box. Men waved and shouted, but
yeah.
Thomas didn't stop.
Oh, so this bit, sort of like how while we're on this bit, I will actually say, I did say that I was trying to make a more Railway Series accurate version. This isn't very Railway Series accurate, because obviously, if you're a true Thomas fan, you would know that in the original book, Thomas stopped only at like what the first signal was just outside the station. In this bit, he just goes out, like the original adaptation, he just puffs out. And also James being on Sodor technically is inaccurate as well, the Railway Series, but I need him to be the antagonist. Also, I thought I mentioned this, but this scene and the scene with Thomas and Henry earlier in the yard was done by Kenny Cartoons, and they have a really nice art style. I really like their art style. So.
I'm pulling my first passenger
Yeah, man.
train. Can't you see?
Where are your coaches then?
Shout out to Kenny.
Well, bless me. We haven't left them behind.
Yes. You better go back and fetch them.
Also, can we appreciate Alex's whole
Mind.
performance?
Let's just go back quickly and fetch them.
He does a banger job.
At the station, Everyone was talking at once.
And then there's this scene. I really like how I drew the humans here. Just how expressive like they all are. Just the sheer terror on the stage on Moss's face.
Arrived, the passengers saw how sad he was and couldn't be cross.
I do kind of wish that what I recently started doing is when I draw is I outline stuff in pen now. I just wasn't doing this at this point, so the pencil outlines kind of bother me a little bit. But, you know. What can you do? Else, you know.
Ready? Yes, Thomas. Now you are ready.
And this time, he really pulled.
Also, I don't draw hands like that. I do results.
The other engines thought it was very funny when they heard the story of Thomas's.
I love how Henry's still ill in this. That's a really nice touch from Harris. I really love that bit.
I'm glad I've come to work on the railway, Thomas. You always give me something.
This is a perfect example of
Thomas was upset.
Battlefist just killing it at James's performance. Just that manic laugh is amazing.
See the world.
You know, I'm getting awfully tired of you going on and on about you.
That's obviously Thomas in the trucks,
Can't
you know.
just not be happy
Henry's
once?
tired. Watch out.
Enough now, you lot. Don't be sad, Thomas. I got some trucks I need to take to Walsworth tomorrow. If you
So this, of course, leads into Thomas and the trucks.
Around for you and
So yeah, which again isn't really changed much from the original, but yeah.
Yes, Thomas, of course.
Oh, thank you. That will be nice.
Now let's try and get some sleep, shall we?
Oh, Edward. I wish it was morning.
You can tell your face that, Thomas.
Next morning, Edward
Miserable
and Thomas
fuck.
asked their drivers, and when they said yes, both engines ran off happily to find trucks. Now trucks are silly and noisy.
So here are the
They talk a lot
trucks.
and don't attend to what they're
They're
doing.
trucks. They're voiced
They
by
don't
Northwesterner,
listen to
and
their engine, and when
yeah.
they stop, they bump right
they're trucks,
into
innit?
each other, and I'm sorry to say, they play tricks on an engine isn't used to
obviously you can tell that there's obviously some
all about
adventure
trucks.
begins bits
He
and bobs
wants
here and
us to
there.
be careful.
Like this example.
However,
Thomas, there is something I need to tell you.
Yeah.
Oh, I know.
Oh, fucking hell. Massive yawn there. Anyways,
You don't have to tell me.
It's not far.
obviously in the Railway series and the original TV series, Thomas gets it by himself in CGI, Edward comes with him. And I like that, so Edward's here with Thomas, telling him to behave himself.
You worry too much.
before Edward could answer, the shunter fastened, the couple
And this theme was done by Headmaster Hastings. Originally, I was just thinking of just using like an instrumental of Troublesome Trucks, like in The Adventure Begins, because I liked how they used the Troublesome Trucks song for this sequence. But then I heard Headmaster Hastings' like rendition of this, and I was like, yes, this is being used.
Edward's warning fell on deaf ears.
Wait, this is the next bit. This is the next bit. The first of Middy's artwork. The Middle Ages artwork. Who, you know? I've got a funny story about this artwork. So Middy, he posted this on his DeviantArt, and some kid commented on it, being like,
Steady now.
but some kid commented on it, being like, "Oh, did you know that some guy called Damazero2 on YouTube is used your artwork?" You know, you know, the artwork that I asked Middy to do for me for this project. How dare I use it?
They passed Henry, who was very surprised.
I think this is the last thing that Kenny draws in this, and bit of a shame because again, really like their art style. Especially like this scene. I think this is my favourite one out of all of them that they drew. I really like this bit. Even though the vocal boost is a bit inaccurate, Kenny. Why did you do that?
Thomas put on his brakes tight and skidded across the rails. He shut his eyes tight. When he opened his eyes, he had stopped just in front of
Thomas
the
is in
buses,
trouble now, lads. Watch out.
and there watching him was the fat director.
What are you doing?
If I'm not mistaken, I think Harris depicted Thomas as being at Marin still, like the TV series. Which,
Why did you come so?
From a mapping perspective, isn't that accurate? Because I wanted him to get Wellsworth, but you know, it's fine, it's fine.
Pushed? You've a lot to learn about tracks then, little Thomas. They are silly things and must be kept in their place. That's why.
This theme as well was done by Cedric and Afro. It's really good, so I used it. I just remember hearing it on that SoundCloud and I was like, yes, this is being used in the video. It was used in this one.
No, sir.
And a lot of other videos to follow, actually, now I think about it.
Really useful engine.
In that case, after pushing them about here for a few weeks, you will know almost as much about them as Edward. Then you will be a really useful engine.
I'm just fucking grooving out right now.
Wasn't just cross with Thomas.
I'll put a thing to mention as well. That the Fat Controller is referred to as the Fat Director in this, because, you know, accurate. I swear that early he's actually called Sir Topham Hatt as well, which is technically inaccurate, because he wasn't knighted at this point yet in the timeline, but oh well.
Thomas, at least we are working together again, just like the old days, eh?
Well, that's true.
There's also, you know,
Thomas
nice little nod
the first two engines
to
be brought for the railway.
the history of Sodor.
With its construction.
Also, no offense for it. Well, no, what do you mean, no offense? I'm talking about my own artwork here. I'm just looking at my own artwork, just like, bruh. Let's admit my artwork again. I'm just looking at that, bruh.
He would always make sure to come to the yards.
I want to say I've improved, but not that much, to be honest.
Hello, Thomas.
This one's slightly better because the side roads are I actually drew the side roads properly, so I'm just making them little lines.
But you can be a really useful engine. Don't let the silly tracks tease you.
Yes, sir.
The Fat Director headed for the station.
But yeah.
He pulled out his umbrella as it began to rain. When he got there,
also this bit's probably a bit unrealistic because
but there was no engine.
What I basically want to say is that Henry was pulling his train, noticed it was raining, so he stopped at Wellsworth, uncoupled from his train. Yeah, as I said before, and then he just went and hid in the shed.
Thomas noticed him.
Which, you know, technically is a bit like crap because in real life they probably wouldn't do that, but you know.
Your passengers are waiting.
You pulled the train.
But of course, this is the grand scene. This is the scene why I kept the Henry subplot in. Because I really liked the original scene. I barely changed anything from the original script as well, from the original film. This scene's pretty much word from word exactly the same as the original. Even with the exact same music as well. Of course, I did some narration here and there because, you know.
On Henry's running board. Henry jumped in fright.
Obviously, I did some narration in here because, you know, this is an audio thing, so you know. I need to explain what's going on.
Just like what I put in my boiler.
Exactly. Come on, Henry. Your passengers are waiting.
Thomas rolled out into the wet weather. The rain poured down onto his boiler and rolled down his side tanks. But
I really like this scene in the original films.
In the slightest.
It was included in my rewrite. And that's not the only weird thing from The Adventure Begins 2015 that I kept into my more railway series accurate. I say railway series accurate with huge quotation marks. Because also I kept this bit, and then I also kept in, you know, James being arriving earlier, and then I kept in the chase scene, which you will see in a bit.
It's only water. Just water.
And still laughing, Henry steamed towards the station to continue his
Shout out to my boy Henry.
Thomas watched him go, and feeling rather satisfied.
Fun fact, Thomas's driver was supposed to have a line here, but for some reason my mate didn't record the line, so I just cut it out.
As he once thought. Besides, he wanted to learn all about trucks and coaches.
And this is where we're introduced to Judy in your room. I don't mind,
there were lots of trucks in the yard.
Something I'll say is that obviously in the original Adventure Begins they introduced Judy and Jordan a lot earlier. And I pretty much kept them being introduced in the same bit of the story. And I'm fine with that because in my opinion, Judy and Jerome didn't, they don't become important to the story till now, so if I introduce them earlier, then there'll just be no point, because they wouldn't be relevant to the story, would they?
Judy, Jerome, emergency.
And I both, I don't know what happened there. I voiced both Judy and Jerome. I wanted to find someone to voice Judy, because Judy's obviously, you know, a female character.
You shouldn't
But I
touch
couldn't find a
those
voice
trucks.
actor.
Get off that siding now.
I asked the chatty engine, but she didn't seem that interested.
And Thomas puffed sheepishly away.
I asked a friend of mine at the time to also watch Judy, and they were like, nah. Which is a good thing, because I'm not friends with that person anymore. And I think if they did voice Judy in this, that would not be very focused for present day me. So yeah.
And clear and repair the line. The 2 cranes are used for lifting heavy things like engines and coaches and trucks.
And your mum. Oh.
A few days later, Thomas saw
hey, Destroy Denier! Destroy Deniers! Train stuff.
Thomas smiled. It was
so Annie and Clarabelle are back, finally, after...
The 2 coaches he had spoken to after James had handled
They appeared 20 minutes ago.
Thomas updated them.
I do kind of wish that I did keep the more consistent characters in the film, but oh well.
So much since I've been here. And I've learned so much on how to handle.
Also, Destroy Denier stuck an asexual track behind Thomas, and that is very cool. I didn't even ask her to do that. She just did it, and I'm very pleased that she did. I think it was Destroy Denier who did it. If I'm literally crediting the wrong person right now, I'm gonna be very. I'm gonna feel very stupid.
The fact director wasn't pleased with his handling of us.
Oh well.
Coaches.
If I am, we can just get to the credits and I'll point them out and be like, hello.
Thomas chuckled. Just then, Edward pulled in.
Hey.
News for Thomas.
Driver tells me that the flight director is coming by this afternoon, Thomas.
And again, obviously, I said that I originally intended these just to be screenshots, and they just fully went and made them full things. Also, I just noticed Scarlo is in the background.
Thomas smiled proudly.
I think that was Scarlo. Why is Scarlo behind back there?
Thomas, what's that?
Thomas rolled right into the back of another truck.
Why you do that, Thomas?
The grumpy foreman on the other side of the yard gave Thomas a glare.
I kind of wish I got an original voice actor for Grumpy Foreman, because I voiced the Grumpy Foreman and a lot of other side human characters, and I think I voiced too many side human characters, to be honest.
There was a whistle and a shout.
Yay!
The train went through the main line.
This is the epic bit, boys. Watch out, lads. Oh, there's another truck there. That's.
And without thinking, Thomas gave chase
best non-binary truck,
the runaway engine. Edward
I like I have to question it. I don't know.
Thomas didn't listen.
I'm not very clever, okay?
The stupid trucks giggled and laughed behind.
In my defense, the non-binary flag of the asexual looked very similar.
that would be enough to stop them, but it didn't. It just made matters worse. James's brake blocks finally gave in and erupted into flames.
Yeah.
James
so obviously I kept the chase scene in with the original music as well. So yeah.
The surging trucks. He wanted nothing more.
One thing I do kind of wish is that I use less narration here.
Behind him and whistle.
This is really where I was towards the end of the script, and I was just kind of being a bit lazy in some places. I wish I used more narration here, or just added not more narration, less narration, and added more voices, if that makes sense.
And blew right past Thomas's face.
Like I just say, James Winston Payne, or
made a plan.
Yeah, that's really it. Just James Winston Payne, and it's like
Thomas slowed
I could have asked Battle Fist to like do some wincing and pain noises, maybe.
Thomas blew his whistle
you know.
to change the point.
That's one thing I would change.
And called out to the guard.
Couple me up! Couple me up!
Right.
And I voiced the guard as well, you know. Like 90% of the minor human characters.
Sitting in his compartment, he grabbed one and ran towards the back of the brake van's balcony. He tried to latch the pole onto Thomas's coupling and hook it around the brake vans. Unfortunately, the train swayed and lurched, and he kept missing.
Come on, we mustn't give up. We have to try.
Suddenly, James
also, I'm gonna say,
the jolt caused the guard to drop the shunters.
I mentioned that the guard had two shunters poles, and in this version, the guard drops one, and then Thomas rolls over that one instead of knocking into a branch, because in the original film, like, Thomas is chasing after James, and he knocks into a branch, but it's like, James is in front of him. Where did the branch come from? So I changed it to a shunter's pole, which isn't the most original idea, because I'm very much sure that I saw that in a different remake, and
looked back, only to see
I just subconsciously stole it.
The bend. It was too late now.
Oh, and this bit,
James flew off the rails.
as Battlefist proceeds to scream bloody murder. I didn't even ask them to do that. Again, I didn't ask him to do that. He just did that. And I was just like, I've got to use that.
Stared in shock at the now wrecked train.
Because it just makes the scene much better.
To the brake van. He had a few cuts and bruises, but nothing was broken. James wailed in pain as he sat in the dirt. His driver and
I could have asked Battlefist 10 to maybe wail in pain then.
Checking for any boiler leaks.
Edward was right.
Also, I threw in the line about boiler leaks because I imagine that's why they'd be checking James over, so...
Stay right there, James.
I didn't even ask him to do that line either.
He headed back towards the Wellsworth. Back in the yards, Edward was talking to the fat director, who had finally arrived.
And here's the bit where Junior Derone show up.
How Thomas had darted off after James's runaway. Just then, Thomas rolled in, blowing his whistle.
Wake up! Wake up! Emergency!
Judy, Jerome, emergency!
James is off the line. His brakes are on fire. We must go quickly.
That's technically inaccurate to the original book because it's the signalman who says that, but you know.
And with that, the workmen boarded the coach and off they went.
Harris was
called out to Thomas.
Harris was the coach.
He puffed back down the line as
nah, Harris is alright, don't worry, don't worry.
This time, Thomas wasn't pretending to be like Gordon. He really meant it.
Bother those trucks and their tricks. I do hope James will be okay.
Soon they reached the accident site. Thomas pushed Judy and Jerome alongside. Once Judy and Jerome had re-railed the unhurt...
This was also done by my friend, my IRL friend, who went by Hootie and was Thomas the driver.
Right. Serves you right.
He was very busy for the rest
I
of the
like
day.
the steam, and I like how he drew that truck.
And forwards all
They look very poggers.
Scolded the trucks.
This will teach you a lesson. This will teach you a lesson.
Yes, it will. Yes, it will.
They left the broken trucks. And
this bit's interesting because there's technically two scenes of James being lifted up
Have
the
you
rails.
got him at the front there, Judy?
And I want to explain that.
Ready to
So,
me too.
One of my friends expressed interest in
James
doing scenes.
Didn't like dancing in the air at all.
Because obviously here's my one. So what happened was that I think his computer was bugged. So he wasn't able to do his scenes, but he really wanted to do at least one. So just I assumed he was just out of the project. I just thought he wasn't going to do his scenes anymore. So I did this scene, which I was really proud of, which is why I still include it because I was proud of it. But then after I drew it, my friend turns around and goes, "Oh yeah, Alex in here, he does that scene." He turns around and goes, "Oh yeah, I did this scene on my dad's computer." And I'm like, "I've got two versions of the same scene now, so I used both."
What you did was terrific.
Even though I'm pretty sure Judy and Jerome were in different places in our images, but oh well.
It was the fat director heading towards the sheds.
Well, Thomas.
This music was really good. This was done by Demon of Nowhere. It was the only piece of Demon of Nowhere's music I used in this actually, because most of that music is just like Undertale covers, which is fine, I just didn't want to use them because this was. I wanted this to be very like railway suit. I wanted this to be as Thomas the Tank Engineer as possible, even though I used tungstens. But you know, you want to ignore that.
Well done.
Gordon then turned to the fat director and cleared his throat quietly.
And who will do the shunting when Thomas is gone?
Gordon focusing on his priorities.
Perhaps you can shunt your own coaches.
I kept this line in the from the original The Adventure Begins because I love that line.
The fat director put up his hand for silence.
Now,
hey, more exhibition about the LMS.
Agreement with the neighbouring London Midland and Scottish Railway. It is how we ended up
so yeah. Just, you know, LMS. So this was obviously, you know, talking about how the terminus was swapped around, like just like it was in the original. So like in this film, the main terminus is Vickerstown, just like I was in the original one. But in this one, at this bit, the Terminus is moved to Tidmouth, and then the engines will move sheds to Tidmouth.
The Fat Director walked away,
Obviously, the Fat Director just mentions it here, and
a few months later, everything
we just kind of skip to when it's done.
The engines had all been moved to Tidmouth, and were running
at this point, like, yeah, like, I just stuck it,
the mainland junction had become a hub of activity.
The film isn't really about the this film isn't necessarily about the LMS agreement, it's more about Thomas. It's about Thomas. So the LMS agreement is just a thing happening on the side. So.
Of course it is.
There's James, he's back again. While I talk about this, actually, I want to talk about this real quick. So, I had a few people ask me about a sequel. And I'm not confirming anything. But I've thought of ideas, and one idea I was thinking of was to have the sequel basically have two plots, an A plot and a B plot. And the A plot would be I didn't ask Malphus to do that, he just did it. The A plot would be an adaptation of James the Red Engine, and then the B plot would be the first two stories of Tankage and Thomason again. The only issue with that is that with A plots and B plots is that they've got to meet towards the end. So they can flow properly. So I kind of have to just make up an entire bit in the middle of the film to wrap up Thomas's arc, and have James be involved in it somehow. So I don't know if I'd do that, but yeah, that's just a thought. I'm not confirming I'm doing that, but I have thought about it. That's all I'm gonna say. You know.
Up in the air. It was one of the old Coffeepots who used to run the branch.
And here's Glyn, and I voice Glyn.
Ah, you must be the new engine for the branch.
Because I voice half the fucking characters in this.
I'm Thomas.
Well, look after the branch line, Thomas. Please. Run it with pride.
Obviously, I changed Glyn's dialogue there a bit, because Thomas didn't take Glyn's number in my AU, because that's a bit goofy.
My name is Glyn. The old engine chuckled as Thomas steamed away. Thomas is never lonely.
Well, basically at the end now.
The last few remaining.
Also, I mentioned the last few coffee pots because obviously, in the Railway series, the coffee pots weren't withdrawn until 1951. So I sort of did a few tweaking, and I changed it so that Glyn was the first to be withdrawn. The first coffee pot to be withdrawn, and then the other coffee pots were withdrawn later in the 50s, like the Railway series.
Peep peep in return.
So yeah.
As for James. Well, let's just say his first few weeks back were not easy.
And then here we have, you know, hinting towards James the Red Engine.
You're already familiar with.
I'm sure you are already familiar with that. If you're not, then what are you doing now? But yeah, that's it. That's basically the end now. Whee! So yeah. And this song is again done by Head-On Master Hastings. I honestly prefer his covers over the original, which, you know, a bit of a hot take there, but yeah. But I genuinely enjoyed making this. It was a big project, but you know, I was happy with it, and I was very grateful for everyone who helped me out with this as well. Like everyone, the artists, the actors, they just all did amazing jobs. And honestly, like, I don't think I've talked that much about them to be fair. Like, I generally just can't. I can't give them enough credit, like, genuinely. I'm so thankful for all of them. So obviously we've got the cast here. That's me, guys, it's me! So yeah, alright, here are the artists. So obviously, here are the artists. Chunko, that was his name! Chunko, the guy who did, the guy I couldn't remember the name of. Yes. Sorry, Chunko. Thank you. I was right, it was Dysphoria Denier. Knew it. I'm glad I didn't get that wrong. Yeah, models by Learning Covenant. So yeah, you know. Yeah, genuinely. Just thank you to everyone who helped me out with this. You were all very poggers. All the fucking music. There's a lot of music in my videos. Okay, and these are the special thanks. So I'm going to explain the special thanks. So Gain H was originally meant to voice James, but they didn't. The second person, Amu? I probably said that wrong. They were going to do art and screenshots, and they ended up not being able to. And then Renes Productions, again, going to do screenshots. They weren't able to. And of course, here's a big special thanks to all the people here. But yeah, like, genuinely, you know, like, honestly, everyone's great. But yeah, like, those three people who were unable to, like, do their bits, I still credit them anyway, because they supported the project from the beginning, and obviously they were helping with it. Even if they ended up, you know, even if they ended up not being able to in the end, they still, you know, helped in their own way, you know. So I credited them. So yeah, anyway, that's it now. The film's finished, and I'm basically just talking to myself. So that's it. I must now quickly hurry up and upload this before this is even later. So yeah, that's it. So, you know, thanks for watching. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all later. And keep an eye out for Soda Through the Ages episode 11, because that's gonna come out eventually. It's. I started editing it. I started editing it. It's coming. Keep an eye out. Goodbye. And fuck you, Alex.